Hello everyone. I'm here to help you relax tonight. I know many of you use this video to fall asleep. So, before you get cozy, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'd love to hear from you. Story 1. On the night of February 12, 2014, emergency dispatch received a call that lasted exactly 43 seconds. It should have been routine. It wasn't, because the woman reporting the murder had already been dead for 6 hours. The recording began with heavy breathing, wind, footsteps, then a terrified female voice. "Please, you need to send someone." The dispatcher immediately requested the address. The woman gave it, a small farmhouse outside Malton. Then came the sentence that would haunt investigators for years. "He's going to kill me." The question, the dispatcher asked, "What's your name?" The caller replied, "Adil Ahmed." Silence. The line crackled. Then the woman whispered something almost too quietly to hear. "He's already done it." The call disconnected. The farmhouse. Police arrived 11 minutes later. The farmhouse stood alone among fields. No lights. No movement. The front door was locked. After receiving no response, officers forced entry. What they found inside launched one of the strangest homicide investigations in Pakistan's history. The body. Adil Ahmed lay dead in the kitchen. Single stab wound. No pulse. No signs of life. The medical examiner later determined she had died approximately 6 hours earlier. The impossible detail. Her phone sat on the kitchen table. Dead battery. According to service records, it had not placed a call all evening. The recording. Dispatch replayed the emergency call repeatedly. The voice matched Sadia. Friends identified it immediately. Family identified it immediately. There was no doubt. The caller was Adil Ahmed. Detective Imran Qureshi. The case landed on Detective Imran's desk 2 days later. Veteran investigator. Practical. Methodical. The type of detective who hated mysteries. And this case seemed built entirely from mysteries. The husband. Police quickly focused on Sadia's husband, Tariq Ahmed. He claimed he had been working a night shift in Lahore. His alibi appeared solid. Security cameras, time cards, co-workers, everything checked out. No forced entry. The farmhouse showed no signs of intrusion. No broken windows. No damaged locks. Whoever killed Sadia either had a key or was invited inside. The neighbor. A nearby farmer reported hearing an argument around 6 p.m. Male voice. Female voice. Then silence. The estimated time of death. The missing object. Investigators discovered something odd. Nothing valuable had been stolen. Jewelry remained. Cash remained. Electronics remained. Only one thing was missing. A photograph. The empty frame. A frame sat on the living room wall. Dust outlined where a photograph had once been. Recently removed. The family picture. Relatives identified it. A family photograph taken in 2007. Sadia, Tariq, and someone else. The third person. A man named Naved Hassan. Former friend of the family. Missing since 2008. The cold case connection. Naved's disappearance had never been solved. He vanished after leaving work one evening. No body. No suspects. No answers. And now, his photograph had disappeared from Sadia's house on the night she was murdered. The hidden message. While processing the farmhouse, forensic technicians found something beneath the empty frame. Written directly on the wall. Hidden behind the photograph for years. A sentence written in black marker. The words, "If anything happens to me, ask what happened to Naved." The timeline breaks. Imran checked when the writing had been made. Forensics estimated the ink was at least 5 years old, meaning Sadia had written the warning long before her death. Long before the emergency call. Long before anyone realized she was in danger. 3 days into the investigation, phone technicians enhanced the emergency recording, searching for background noises, anything useful. Then they found it. A second voice, barely audible, standing near the caller. The whisper. After enhancement, the sentence became clear. A male voice. Calm. Close. Whispering directly beside Sadia. "You should have told them about Naved." Most murder victims leave behind clues after they die. But Sadia Ahmed appeared to have left a warning years before her murder, and a phone call hours after it. Detective Imran Qureshi spent the next 48 hours focused on one name. Naved Hassan, the missing man from the photograph. The man hidden behind Sadia's warning. The man whose disappearance seemed connected to her murder. At first, the old case looked ordinary. A missing person report, some interviews, a few weak leads. Then the timeline started falling apart. The disappearance. Naved vanished on September 3, 2008. He left his accounting office at 6:12 p.m. Security cameras captured him walking into the parking lot. Then nothing. His car remained parked. His wallet remained inside. His phone stopped transmitting minutes later. No witnesses. No ransom demand. No body. The original investigation. Police had questioned everyone close to him. Co-workers. Family. Friends. Including Tariq Ahmed. And Sadia Ahmed. The best friends. At the time, Tariq and Naved were inseparable. Childhood friends. Business partners. Neighbors. Everyone described them as brothers. Until 2 weeks before Naved disappeared. The argument. Several witnesses recalled a violent argument between the two men. Nobody knew the cause. Neither man ever explained it. The notebook. While reviewing old evidence, Imran discovered something overlooked. A notebook recovered from Naved's office. Most pages contained routine financial records. One page contained a list of names. Several names were crossed out. One wasn't. Tariq Ahmed. Beside it was a single sentence. If I'm right, he already knows. The bank records. Forensic accountants reopened Naved's financial files. Within days they found irregular transactions. Money moving between accounts. Fake invoices. Hidden transfers. Nearly 12 million rupees unaccounted for. Who controlled the accounts? Only 2 people had access. Naved and Tariq. The theory. It looked simple. Naved discovered fraud. Naved confronted Tariq. Naved disappeared. Years later, Sadia learned the truth. Then Sadia was murdered. A clean theory. Too clean. The storage unit. One document led investigators to a storage facility on the outskirts of the city. The rental agreement had been signed under Naved's name weeks before he vanished. The unit remained unpaid for years. Nobody had opened it since. The search. Police obtained a warrant. The lock was cut. The metal door rolled upward. Dust filled the air. Inside sat boxes, old furniture, personal records, and a safe. The safe. The combination had been written inside Naved's notebook. When officers opened it, they found hundreds of pages, financial documents, photographs, letters, and a sealed envelope. The envelope was addressed to whoever investigates my disappearance. Imran opened it carefully. The first sentence stopped him cold. If you're reading this, I was right about Tariq. The confession that wasn't. The letter described months of suspicion. Naved believed someone was stealing money through their company. At first he suspected employees. Then he discovered evidence pointing toward Tariq. The final paragraph. The last paragraph was different. Messier. Written later. The handwriting shook. The words. I confronted him tonight. He denied everything. But that's not why I'm scared anymore. The next line. Someone else was in the house. The witness. Naved claimed he saw another person inside Tariq's home. Someone watching from the hallway. Someone Tariq pretended not to notice. The description. Male. Approximately 50 years old. Gray hair. Dark coat. Unknown identity. The photograph. Inside the envelope rested a Polaroid. The image showed Tariq standing in his living room. Nothing unusual. Until investigators noticed the reflection in a mirror behind him. The reflection. A second man stood in the hallway. Watching. Exactly matching Naved's description. The problem. Nobody recognized him. Not family. Not neighbors. Not friends. No one. The phone number. Written on the back of the photograph was a phone number. One digit faded. Most investigators would have ignored it. Imran didn't. The match. After reconstructing the missing digit, police traced the number. It belonged to a prepaid phone purchased in 2007. Registered under a false identity. Inactive for years. The last call. Records revealed something extraordinary. The final outgoing call from that number occurred on February 12, 2014. The night Sadia died. The recipient. The call wasn't made to Tariq. It wasn't made to Sadia. It was made to emergency dispatch. The same dispatch center that received Sadia's impossible murder call. The recording. Dispatch logs showed both calls arrived within 30 seconds of each other. One call from Sadia. One call from the mystery phone. The mystery caller. The second caller never spoke. Never requested help. Never identified himself. What he did instead. He remained connected for 27 seconds. Listening. Listening to Sadia report her own murder. Late that night, Imran spread the evidence across his desk. Naved's letter. The hidden photograph. The phone records. The emergency call transcript. And one fact became impossible to ignore. The unknown man appeared connected to both disappearances. To Naved in 2008. To Sadia in 2014. Then Imran noticed something written on the edge of Naved's photograph. Tiny words almost hidden by age. Words nobody had previously noticed. The message. He is not the man who took me. He is the man who watches. For 6 years investigators believed they were hunting a killer. But Naved Hassan's final message suggested something far more disturbing. That the most important person in the case might not be the murderer at all. Detective Imran had solved enough homicide cases to know one thing. People lie. Evidence doesn't. But the evidence in the Sadia Ahmed case seemed determined to break every rule he trusted. Because the deeper he dug into Naved Hassan's disappearance, the more one unknown figure kept appearing. Not as a suspect. Not as a victim. As a witness. A witness no one could identify. The man in the background. The Polaroid from Naved's safe wasn't the only image. Forensic teams began reviewing hundreds of old photographs connected to everyone involved in the case. Family albums. Wedding photos. Company events. Birthday parties. Thousands of images. And eventually they found him again. Photograph number 2. A company picnic from 2006. Employees gathered beside a river. Children played near the water. Far behind them, standing beneath a tree, was the same gray-haired man. Watching. Photograph number 3. A wedding in 2007. The same man appeared near the back row. Not participating. Not smiling. Watching. Photograph number 4. A neighborhood gathering. Again. The same face. The same expression. The same distance from the camera. The pattern. The photograph spanned years. Yet the man never seemed to age. Never changed clothes. Never changed appearance. The facial recognition search. Police entered every image into national databases. Nothing. No passport records. No driver's license. No employment history. No existence. The newspaper archive. Then one analyst made a discovery. While reviewing old newspaper photographs, she found him again. 1989. Standing behind a crowd at a local political rally. 25 years before Sadia's death. Exactly the same age. Exactly the same face. The panic. For the first time, experienced investigators began refusing assignments connected to the case. Not because of ghosts. Not because of superstition. Because the evidence stopped making sense. The retired officer. Imran tracked down a retired detective who had worked on Naved's disappearance in 2008. His name was Inspector Khalid. At first, Khalid refused to discuss the case. Then Imran showed him the photographs. The old detective immediately turned pale. Recognition. Khalid already knew the man. Or thought he did. A different investigation. In 1996, Khalid investigated the disappearance of a university student. An unsolved case. No body. No suspect. The family album. During that investigation, police recovered family photographs. And in several images, the same gray-haired man appeared. Watching. The report. Khalid documented it at the time. His supervisors ordered the information removed from the official report. Why? Because it sounded insane. And because it wasn't the first time. The secret file. Khalid kept copies, hidden for nearly 30 years. When he finally handed them to Imran, the scope of the mystery became clear. The collection. 37 separate missing person cases. Spanning 4 decades. different cities, different victims, different circumstances. One common factor: the gray-haired witness appeared in every investigation. The earliest image. The oldest photograph dated back to 1971. Black and white. Poor quality. Yet the face remained unmistakable. Watching from the background. Exactly as he would appear 40 years later. The handwritten note. Inside colored secret file sat a handwritten page. One sentence had been underlined repeatedly. The words: "Every victim noticed him before disappearing." The journal. Several victims had kept diaries. Police had preserved copies. Imran reviewed them one by one, and found references to the same man repeatedly. The descriptions match. Always watching. Always nearby. Always familiar somehow. Yet nobody knew who he was. Sadia's journal. Then Imran found Sadia's personal diary. A small notebook hidden inside a kitchen cabinet. Most entries discussed normal life. Work. Bills. Marriage. Until the final months. The first mention. One entry read, "I saw him again outside the grocery store." The second. A week later. Tariq says I'm imagining things. The third. 2 months later. Naved used to talk about him too. The last entry. Written 6 days before her murder. The handwriting was shaky. Uneven. Afraid. The sentence. "He finally spoke to me." Imran reads further. The next page contained only 3 lines. The message. "He said I don't have much time left. He said I need to tell the truth. He said he's trying to stop it from happening again." Again. That word bothered Imran. Again. Again implied repetition. Again implied history. Again implied victims before Sadia. The security footage. Police obtained surveillance footage from the grocery store mentioned in Sadia's diary. Years old. Low quality. Yet there he was. The gray-haired man. Standing outside. Watching the entrance. The crucial detail. This time, however, investigators noticed something new. He wasn't watching Sadia. He was watching someone else. Standing across the street. Partially hidden from view. A man wearing a dark jacket. Image enhancement. Technicians sharpened the frame. The face slowly emerged. And when it did, Imran felt his stomach drop, because he recognized him immediately. The face. It was Naved Hassan. The problem. The footage was recorded in 2013. 5 years after Naved officially disappeared. Imran replayed the footage repeatedly. Naved stood across the street. Alive. Watching Sadia. The gray-haired witness stood nearby. Watching Naved. And neither seemed aware of the camera recording them. For years police had searched for a dead man. Now evidence suggested Naved survived long after his disappearance. But that raised a far more dangerous question. If Naved was alive in 2013, where had he been hiding for 5 years? The mystery was no longer about a murdered woman or a missing man. It was about discovering why someone who should have been dead appeared to be secretly watching the victim before she was killed. Detective Imran watched the footage more than 50 times. Every replay ended the same way. Naved Hassan stood across the street. Alive. Breathing. Watching. 5 years after his disappearance. 5 years after police had effectively stopped looking for him. The verification. The first step was obvious. Confirm the footage hadn't been altered. Digital forensic experts examined every frame. Compression patterns. Metadata. Camera records. Everything checked out. The recording was authentic. The problem. That created a larger problem. If Naved was alive in 2013, then someone had deliberately remained hidden for years. And if he remained hidden voluntarily, why? The face recognition match. Police expanded the search. Every available traffic camera. Every archived surveillance system. Every public recording they could access. Weeks of analysis followed. Then came the breakthrough. Another sighting. A bus terminal. The image quality was poor, but investigators were confident. Naved appeared again. Sitting alone. Waiting. A pattern emerges. The sightings continued. Always brief. Always distant. Always alone. Never staying long. He appeared for minutes. Sometimes seconds. Then vanished again. As though he actively avoided being found. The locker. One surveillance image led investigators to a train station locker rented under a false identity. The rental had been paid continuously for 6 years. The locker still existed. The contents. Inside sat a backpack, 3 notebooks, several newspaper clippings, and dozens of photographs. The photographs. Every image featured the same subjects. Sadia Ahmed, Tariq Ahmed, and the grey-haired witness. The collection. Naved had been tracking them. For years. The notes. The notebooks contained observations. Dates. Locations. Schedules. At first glance they looked obsessive. Paranoid. Then Imran noticed something. The warnings. Several entries contained the same sentence. Repeated over and over. The sentence. She still doesn't remember. Another entry. Weeks later. He knows she doesn't remember. A third. Months later. If she remembers, he'll kill her. The question. Remember what? The forgotten night. The answer arrived through an old insurance file. An event almost everyone involved had forgotten. Or chosen to forget. 2008. 3 days before Naved disappeared. A car accident occurred on a rural road outside the city. The occupants. Tariq Ahmed, Sadia Ahmed, Naved Hassan. All 3 were inside the vehicle. The official report. Minor injuries. No fatalities. Case closed. The witness statement. Hidden in supplementary documents, investigators found a statement never entered into the final report. A statement from a paramedic. The words. The woman kept saying there was a 4th person. The 4th passenger. According to the paramedic, Sadia repeatedly insisted another man had been inside the vehicle. A grey-haired man. Nobody believed her. Police dismissed the claim. The evidence suggested only 3 occupants. No 4th passenger existed. The memory gap. Hospital records revealed something else. Sadia suffered a concussion during the crash. Memory impairment followed. Temporary. Or so doctors believed. Naved's obsession. After the accident, Naved became increasingly focused on one topic. Memory. Forgetting. Things people couldn't explain. The final notebook. Near the end of one journal, Naved wrote, "It wasn't an accident." The next line. That's when he first appeared. The photograph from the crash site. Investigators located a forgotten evidence photograph taken after the collision. A routine image. Nothing special. Until they enlarged the background. The figure. Standing near the road. Watching the wreckage. The grey-haired man. The impossible detail. This time he wasn't watching Sadia. He wasn't watching Naved. He wasn't watching Tariq. He was looking directly at the camera, as though he knew someone would eventually examine the photograph. The reverse side. The original printed photograph contained handwriting on the back. Not from police. Not from investigators. Someone had written, "She survived." That changes everything. The DNA result. Meanwhile, forensic testing on the notebooks produced an unexpected result. A second person's DNA appeared repeatedly throughout the pages. Not Tariq. Not Sadia. Not Naved. The match. The DNA belonged to an unidentified male. Approximately 50 years old. The same age. The estimated age matched the grey-haired witness perfectly. The interview nobody wanted. Imran brought Tariq in for another interview. This time the questioning focused on the accident. The moment Imran mentioned the grey-haired man, Tariq froze. For the first time since the investigation began. He looked genuinely afraid. The slip. It lasted only a second. But it was enough. The question. Imran leaned forward. Who is he? The answer. Tariq stared at the table for a long moment. Then whispered. I thought he only followed Naved. Silence. The room became perfectly still. Because Tariq's answer revealed something crucial. He knew the man existed. That evening, investigators searched the final notebook recovered from the locker. Hidden between 2 pages they discovered a folded photograph. Old. Worn. Taken sometime in the late 1980s. The family picture. A family stood outside a small house. Mother. Father. Young son. Ordinary. Except for one detail. The father was the grey-haired witness. The caption. Written beneath the image. Missing, 1989. For years the grey-haired man had appeared beside victims, suspects, and witnesses alike. But the discovery of the family photograph revealed a terrifying possibility. He wasn't merely connected to the case. He might have been its very first victim. The photograph changed everything. For months, Detective Imran had treated the gray-haired man as a mystery, a shadow, a witness, perhaps even a suspect. Now, for the first time, he had a name. Adil Raman, missing since 1989, declared legally dead in 1996, yet somehow appearing in photographs decades later, watching victims before they vanished. The family. Imran tracked down Arif's surviving relatives. Most had spent years believing he abandoned them. His wife died in 2007. His son had moved away. Neither ever received answers. The son, Arif's son, Faisal, agreed to meet. At first he seemed skeptical. Then Imran showed him the photographs. Faisal immediately recognized the face. No doubt. That's my father. The answer came instantly. No hesitation. No uncertainty. The shock. What happened next surprised everyone. Instead of reacting with relief, Faisal looked terrified. Why? Because he had seen the photographs before. The hidden box. Years earlier, after his mother's death, Faisal discovered a locked wooden box among her belongings. Inside were dozens of photographs. Every one contained Arif. The dates. Years after his disappearance. The letter. Among the photographs sat a letter written by Arif himself. The envelope remained sealed. Faisal had never opened it. He was too frightened. The message. The letter began. If you're reading this, I failed again. Again. Imran immediately noticed the word. Again. The same word appearing throughout the case. The rest of the letter. Arif described spending years trying to stop disappearances, trying to warn people, trying to change outcomes. The problem. Every attempt failed. Every warning arrived too late. Every victim disappeared anyway. The first person. Then came the most important paragraph. The words. The first person I couldn't save was my sister. 1989. According to the letter, Arif's younger sister vanished in 1989. No witnesses. No explanation. No body. The beginning. That disappearance started everything. The pattern. While searching for his sister, Arif discovered other cases. Older disappearances. Victims connected by strange coincidences. Repeated names. Repeated locations. Repeated dates. The discovery. Eventually he realized something horrifying. Many victims reported seeing strangers before they vanished. Strangers who seemed desperate to warn them. The realization. Those strangers were previous victims, trying to save future victims. The chain. The disappearances formed a chain stretching back decades. Each victim eventually became a witness. Each witness tried to stop the next disappearance. And each failed. Naved's role. Suddenly Naved's notebooks made sense. He wasn't hiding from police. He was hiding while investigating the same phenomenon Arif had discovered. The missing years. For 6 years, Naved had secretly followed the chain. Tracking victims. Tracking sightings. Tracking Arif. The new evidence. Inside Arif's box sat a map, covered in markings. Dozens of disappearances connected by red lines. The lines eventually converged at a single location. An abandoned hospital. Closed in 1988. Demolished in 1992. Officially gone. The problem. Several disappearances occurred there after demolition. Impossible reports. Witnesses repeatedly described seeing the hospital, standing exactly where it used to be. The name. The old building had a name. Mercy General Hospital. The Forgotten Wing. Hospital blueprints revealed something unusual. A basement wing sealed shortly before closure. The official explanation. Structural instability. Flood damage. The unofficial explanation. Rumors. Patients disappearing. Staff resigning. Medical records vanishing. The nurse. One retired nurse agreed to speak. She was 90 years old now. Almost blind. But her memory remained sharp. Her story. The disappearances began in the basement. Always the basement. The description. Patients reported seeing unfamiliar people wandering corridors. People who looked frightened. Desperate. Trying to warn them. The same pattern. Exactly like Arif. Exactly like the victims. Exactly like the witness chain. The final warning. Before leaving, the nurse revealed one final detail. A phrase repeated by multiple patients before they vanished. The words. Don't go to room 23. The number, room 23. The same number appeared repeatedly in Naved's notebooks, repeated so often that entire pages contained nothing else. The last photograph. As Imran prepared to leave, Faisal handed him one final image from Arif's box. A photograph taken in 1989, the oldest known image connected to the chain. The scene. A hospital corridor. A young woman standing beside a door. Room 23. The woman. Arif's missing sister. The terrifying detail. Standing behind her, trying desperately to get her attention, was an older version of Arif. Grey-haired. Terrified. Exactly as he appeared decades later. Imran stared at the photograph long after everyone else left. Because for the first time, he understood what the witness chain truly meant. Arif wasn't following victims. He was chasing his sister. For 35 years. Trying to stop the moment she disappeared. And failing every single time. Some people spend their lives searching for answers. But Adil Raman appeared to have spent his life reliving the same failure over and over again. Trapped in a desperate attempt to save the very first person he couldn't. Detective Imran couldn't stop staring at the photograph. Arif's sister stood outside room 23. Young. Alive. Unaware. And behind her stood an older Arif. Grey-haired. Desperate. Reaching toward her. Trying to stop something that had already happened. The date. The photograph was dated. October 17, 1989. The exact day Arif's sister disappeared. The name. Her name was Samina Rahman. 22 years old. Nursing student. Part-time hospital volunteer. Ordinary. Until she walked into room 23. The last sighting. Witnesses reported seeing Samina enter the room shortly before midnight. No one saw her leave. The search. Hospital staff searched immediately. Every floor. Every corridor. Every stairwell. Nothing. The room. Room 23 contained only one door. One window. One hospital bed. No hidden passages. No escape routes. The empty bed. When staff entered minutes later, the room was empty. Samina had vanished. The official story. Hospital administrators blamed confusion. Poor record keeping. Human error. The real story. The nurse remembered something different. The patients. People assigned to room 23 often reported strange experiences. Visitors nobody else could see. Voices in empty hallways. People appearing where they shouldn't exist. The most common report. Seeing future versions of themselves. The first investigation. Hospital management quietly conducted an internal inquiry in 1987. The results never became public. The missing file. Official records claimed the investigation file was destroyed during demolition. But Imran found a copy hidden among Arif's papers. The findings. The report documented 17 disappearances. All connected to room 23. The pattern. Every victim reported seeing someone before vanishing. Who? Themselves. Older versions. Younger versions. Different versions. But always themselves. The doctor. One physician described interviewing a patient days before she disappeared. The patient repeatedly insisted she had met herself. The statement. She knew things nobody else could know. She knew what I was going to say before I said it. The basement. Blueprints revealed something odd. Room 23 sat directly above the sealed basement wing. The same wing associated with multiple disappearances. The demolition records. Mercy General Hospital was demolished in 1992. Almost completely. Almost. One section remained untouched. The basement. Why? No demolition crew would enter it. The foreman's statement. Years later, a construction foreman described what happened. Workers repeatedly became lost underground. Hallways appeared where none should exist. Maps became useless. The final decision. The city sealed the basement permanently. Then built over it. The location today. A commercial warehouse now occupied the property. Nothing suggested a hospital had ever stood there. The search warrant. Imran obtained permission to inspect the site. The warehouse manager thought the request was ridiculous. Until investigators discovered something beneath the concrete floor. The staircase. Hidden beneath storage shelves. A stairwell descending underground. Exactly where the old blueprints indicated. The seal. At the bottom sat a steel door. welded shut decades earlier. The writing, spray painted across the metal. Keep room 23 closed. The date, the year Samina vanished. The descent. The welds were cut. The door opened. Cold air drifted upward. And beneath the warehouse, Mercy General Hospital still existed. The corridor, dust covered everything. Equipment remained where workers abandoned it decades earlier. Wheelchairs, stretchers, medical cats, frozen in time. The basement wing. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. Clocks stopped working. Phone signals disappeared. Distances felt wrong. The door. Eventually they found it. Room 23. Exactly as it appeared in the photograph. Untouched. Waiting. The first surprise. The room wasn't empty. The journal. A notebook sat on the bed. Fresh. Not dusty. Not aged. Fresh. The owner. The first page contained a name. Naved Hassan. The date. The last entry was written only 3 weeks before Sadia's murder. The final entry. Imran read it aloud. The words. I finally found where they go. Arif was right. The room isn't taking people. The next line. The room is returning them. Silence. Nobody spoke. Because the statement made no sense. Returning them from where? Imran turned the page. The answer waited there. The final sentence. Written in hurried handwriting. If you see me after tonight, don't trust me. The sound. Before anyone could process the warning. Something echoed through the basement corridor. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Approaching room 23. The figure. A silhouette appeared beyond the doorway. A man. Thin. Exhausted. Walking directly toward them. The face. As he stepped into the light, Imran recognized him instantly. Naved Hassan. Missing since 2008. Supposedly dead. Standing alive inside the abandoned hospital. Naved stared at the investigation team, then looked directly at Imran. Not surprised. Not confused. Almost disappointed. His first words. You earlier than last time. For 16 years police searched for a missing man. But when they finally found Naved Hassan, he spoke as if they had already met before. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. Because the man standing in room 23 was supposed to be impossible. Naved Hassan had been missing for 16 years. Declared dead. Mourned by his family. Investigated by police. Yet here he stood. Alive. And apparently expecting them. The silence breaks. Detective Imran stepped forward. Naved. The man nodded slowly, as though he had heard the question many times before. The first problem. Naved looked exactly the same. Not younger. Not older. Exactly the same as he appeared in photographs from 2008. No aging. 16 years should have changed him. They hadn't. The second problem. Naved seemed unsurprised by anything. The police. The hospital. The discovery. None of it shocked him. His response. Instead he asked a question. The question. Did Sadia remember before she died? The room fell silent. He already knew. Not suspected. Not guessed. Knew. Imran's answer. We don't know. Naved closed his eyes. His expression collapsed into sadness. The reply. Then this version ends the same way. Version. The word again. Version. Again. The same language repeated throughout the investigation. The interview. For the next hour, Imran questioned him. Every answer created new mysteries. Where have you been? Naved pointed toward the hallway. Here. For 16 years. Naved shook his head. No. Then where? The answer came quietly. Everywhere. The explanation. According to Naved, room 23 wasn't a room. It only appeared to be one. The threshold. The doorway connected different moments. Different places. Different possibilities. Different versions. Not alternate worlds. Not dreams. Possibilities. Lives that nearly happened. Choices that almost existed. The first crossing. When Naved entered room 23 in 2008, he believed he was investigating Arif's disappearance. Instead he crossed into something else. The real discovery. He found people. Hundreds of them. Victims connected to the chain. Victims who had vanished across decades. Samina, Arif's sister, was among them. Alive. The impossible community. The missing weren't dead. They existed between possibilities. Trapped. Unable to fully return. Arif's failure. Suddenly everything made sense. Arif wasn't trying to save victims from death. He was trying to stop them from becoming trapped. The return attempts. Many victims attempted to come back. Most failed. Some succeeded briefly. The danger. Returning changed people. Not physically. Mentally. The memory problem. Every time someone crossed back and forth, they remembered more. Not just their own life. Other possibilities. Other outcomes. Other versions. Naved's condition. Over 16 years, Naved had crossed hundreds of times. The result. He remembered everything. Or almost everything. What does that mean? Naved looked directly at Imran. Then recited details from Imran's childhood. A broken bicycle. A lost school notebook. A teacher's name. Memories nobody else could know. The horror. Because some of them never happened. At least not in Imran's life. The other versions. Naved remembered different versions of people. Different possibilities. Different outcomes. The gray-haired witness. Finally Imran asked the question haunting the case from the beginning. Who is Arif really? Naved's expression darkened. The truth. Arif crossed more times than anyone else. For 35 years he searched for his sister. 35 years of failed rescues. 35 years of repeated attempts. The cost. Eventually Arif became something unusual. Someone who remembered almost every version of events. The Watcher. Not because he wanted to. Because he couldn't stop. The real reason he appeared everywhere. Arif wasn't following victims. He was following disappearances. Trying to find the version where he finally succeeded. The discovery about Sadia. Then Naved revealed the secret he had protected for years. The accident. The crash in 2008 wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. Sadia saw something. Immediately after the collision, Sadia briefly crossed the threshold. Only for seconds. Then returned. The memory. Most people forgot such experiences. Sadia didn't. Not completely. What she remembered. She remembered witnessing a disappearance. A disappearance connected to room 23. The problem. She didn't consciously remember. But part of her mind never forgot. The trigger. Years later, those memories began resurfacing. The journal. That explained her entries. The sightings. The fear. The warnings. Why she was murdered. Imran finally asked the question. Did someone kill Sadia because she remembered? Naved's silence. For the first time, Naved hesitated. Then nodded. The killer. Yes. The follow-up. Who? Naved looked toward the corridor. Toward the darkness beyond room 23. The answer. Someone who remembers even more than I do. The footsteps. At that exact moment. Footsteps echoed from deep within the hospital. Heavy. Slow. Approaching. Naved's reaction. For the first time since they found him. Naved looked afraid. Truly afraid. The whisper. He stared into the darkness. Then whispered. He's found this version too. A silhouette appeared at the far end of the corridor. Tall. Motionless. Watching. The same way Arif had once watched. But this wasn't Arif. The face. As the figure stepped into the light, Imran recognized him instantly. Because he had been interviewing him for months. Tariq Ahmed. Sadia's husband. Standing inside the abandoned hospital. Waiting. For years Tariq Ahmed looked like a grieving husband. But as he emerged from the darkness of room 23, Detective Imran began to realize he might be the one person in the entire case who knew exactly what was happening. Tariq Ahmed stood at the far end of the corridor. Motionless. Silent. Watching. For a moment, nobody spoke. Not because they were surprised to see him. Because of the expression on his face. He wasn't frightened. He wasn't cornered. He wasn't behaving like a suspect who had just been caught. He looked tired. Very tired. The recognition. Naved's reaction was immediate. The moment he saw Tariq, he closed his eyes. Like a man realizing a nightmare had arrived exactly on schedule. His words. It's happening again. Again. The word echoed through the abandoned hospital. Again. The same word that had haunted every stage of the investigation. Tariq walks forward. His footsteps echoed softly through the corridor. When he finally reached room 23, he looked directly at Imran, then at Naved, then at the journal resting on the bed. The question. Tariq sighed. Which version is this? Silence. Nobody knew how to answer. Naved does. Naved looked at him sadly. The reply. Version 47. Imran freezes. 4 to 7. 4 to 7 versions. 4 to 7 attempts. 4 to 7 failures. The truth begins. Imran demanded answers. No riddles. No half-truths. No more mysteries. Tariq agrees. For the first time since Saadia's murder, Tariq seemed willing to talk. Really talk. His first sentence. I didn't kill Saadia. The follow-up. Imran immediately responded. Then who did? Tariq's answer. I did. The room fell silent. The contradiction. Imran stared at him. You just said you didn't. The explanation. Tariq nodded. The terrible answer. Not this version of me. The versions. According to Tariq, room 23 wasn't creating possibilities. It was connecting them. The corridor. Every crossing generated new branches. New outcomes. New versions of people. Most never interacted. The branches remained separate. Until room 23 connected them. The discovery. Years earlier, Tariq crossed accidentally. Just like Naved. Just like Arif. What he found. Other versions of himself. Hundreds. Thousands. The pattern. Some versions became detectives. Some became teachers. Some died young. Some never met Saadia. One constant. In almost every version, something terrible happened. The missing event. A disappearance. A murder. A loss. The details changed. The outcome didn't. The obsession. Tariq spent years searching for the reason. Searching for the common point. The source. The conclusion. Eventually he found it. Saadia. Every version somehow revolved around Saadia. The impossible role. Not because she caused events. Because she remembered them. The memory anchor. Some people forgot crossings. Some remembered fragments. Saadia was different. She remembered more than anyone should. Even after returning. Even after years passed. Why it mattered. The more Saadia remembered, the more unstable the branches became. The convergence. Different possibilities started overlapping. Leaking into one another. The evidence. Suddenly everything fit. The impossible emergency call. The sightings. The contradictory timelines. The changing memories. The murder. Imran asked the question again. Who killed Saadia? This time Tariq answered completely. The truth. A version of Tariq from another branch. A version who believed killing Saadia would stop the collapse. Did it work? Tariq laughed bitterly. The reply. You're standing here, aren't you? No. It didn't work. The real danger. In fact, it made everything worse. The convergence accelerates. Once Saadia died, the boundaries weakened further. More versions crossed. More memories leaked. More realities overlapped. Naved's fear. That was why Naved kept repeating the same warning. Don't trust me. Because eventually every version became difficult to distinguish. The corridor shifts. At that moment the hospital changed. Walls moved. Lights flickered. Doorways appeared where none existed before. The overlap begins. For the first time, Imran could see it. Different versions of the corridor. Different versions of room 23. Briefly visible through one another. The people. Figures appeared. Dozens. Hundreds. Different versions of victims. Different versions of investigators. Different versions of Tariq. The worst discovery. One figure stepped forward from the shifting darkness. A woman. Alive. Saadia Ahmed, another version. Not a ghost. Not a memory. A living version. Standing only meters away. The reunion. For several seconds nobody moved. Not even Tariq. Saadia speaks. She looked around the corridor. Then directly at Imran. Her words. How many failures has it been this time? The corridor trembled. Reality itself seemed unstable. And as dozens of overlapping versions flickered through existence, one fact became impossible to ignore. Saadia wasn't merely a victim. She had been fighting this battle far longer than anyone realized. Detective Imran thought he was investigating a murder, But standing in room 23 beside a living version of Adil Ahmed, he finally understood that the case had never been about finding a killer. It was about discovering why reality kept trying to repeat the same tragedy. The living Adil Ahmed stepped into room 23. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Detective Imran stared at her. Because she wasn't a ghost. She wasn't a hallucination. She wasn't even surprised to see him. The recognition. Instead, she looked directly at Naved, then at Tariq, then slowly shook her head. Her first words, "You still haven't figured it out." The silence. The statement hit the room like a hammer. Because she sounded exhausted. Not confused. Not frightened. Exhausted. The question. Imran finally found his voice. "Who are you?" The answer. Sadia smiled sadly. The reply. The version that survived the longest. The survivor. According to her, she wasn't the original Sadia. There hadn't been an original for a very long time. The convergence. After decades of overlapping timelines, countless versions existed. Some died in the farmhouse. Some disappeared. Some entered room 23. Some escaped. Only one remained. This Sadia remembered nearly all of them. The burden. Every failure. Every death. Every attempt. Stored inside one mind. The number. Imran asked how many versions existed. Sadia looked toward the shifting corridor. The answer. Thousands. The impossible memory. She remembered being murdered. More than once. Different ways. Knife wounds. Car accidents. Disappearances. Versions where she vanished. Versions where Tariq vanished. Versions where Naved vanished. The pattern. The details changed. The ending never did. The same outcome. Sooner or later, someone reached room 23. Sooner or later, the timelines began collapsing. Sooner or later, everything repeated. The real mystery. Not why people disappeared. Not who committed murder. Why it kept happening. That was the real mystery. The missing memory. According to Sadia, everyone remembered part of the truth. Arif remembered the disappearances. Naved remembered the crossings. Tariq remembered the convergences. But nobody remembered the beginning. The first event. The thing that started everything. The discovery. Years earlier, Sadia began comparing memories from different versions, searching for a common origin. The result. Every timeline eventually pointed toward the same day. October 17, 1989. The day Adil Raman entered room 23. Arif's sister. The first known disappearance. The first victim. The first failure. Or so everyone believed. The mistake. Sadia revealed something nobody had considered. Samina wasn't first. She was simply the first person people remembered. The hidden victim. Someone vanished before Samina. Years before. The missing record. Every version of history contained traces of that person, but never a complete record. Why? Because the disappearance damaged reality itself. The erasure. Names vanished. Documents vanished. Photographs vanished. Entire lives disappeared from memory. The shadow. For decades investigators encountered clues without realizing it. Missing pages. Missing files. Missing photographs. The same absence. The whole always pointed toward the same forgotten individual. The name. For the first time, Sadia spoke it aloud. Adil Raman. The shock. Naved immediately went pale. Tariq closed his eyes. Recognition. Somewhere deep inside their fragmented memories, they recognized the name. Who was he? Samina's older brother. Arif's older brother. The forgotten sibling. The one history erased. The original victim. Adil entered room 23 in 1978. Never returned. The consequence. His disappearance created the first fracture. The first overlap. The first broken branch. The terrifying truth. Everything afterward. Every disappearance. Every convergence. Every murder. Every version. Started there. The final evidence. Sadia opened a worn notebook she carried. Inside sat a single photograph. The oldest photograph any of them had ever seen. The image. Mercy General Hospital. A young man standing outside room 23. Smiling. Adil Raman. The detail. Behind him stood someone else. Watching. The face. Not Arif. Not Naved. Not Tariq. Imran silence. The room became completely still. Impossible. The photograph had been taken years before Imran was born. Yet there he was. Older. Watching Adil. Sadia's explanation. She looked directly at him. The words. You've been here longer than any of us. The corridor opens. Suddenly room 23 shook violently. The overlapping realities intensified. Walls cracked. Hallways multiplied. Hundreds of versions became visible at once. The center. At the end of every corridor. The same doorway appeared. A door nobody had seen before. The truth waiting beyond. Sadia stared toward it. Then whispered. That's where it started. The photograph slipped from Imran's hands. Because for the first time in the entire investigation, the mystery had become personal. Not connected to him. Centered on him. Detective Imran had spent months searching for the first victim of the Room 23 mystery, only to discover evidence suggesting he might somehow have been standing at the beginning of it all. The photograph slipped from Imran's hands. It landed face up on the floor of Room 23. Adil Raman stood smiling outside the hospital room. And behind him, decades before Imran's birth, stood an older version of Detective Imran Qureshi, watching, waiting, the impossible truth. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The corridor continued shifting around them. Different versions of reality flickered in and out of existence. Yet all eyes remained fixed on the photograph. Sadia speaks. The surviving Sadia finally broke the silence. You were never investigating the beginning. She looked directly at Imran. The words. You were investigating yourself. The memory. The moment she said it, something changed. A memory surfaced. Not from Imran's childhood. Not from his adult life. From somewhere else. Another version. He suddenly remembered standing in room 23. Much older. Gray-haired. Exhausted. Looking through hundreds of photographs. Searching desperately for something. The name. Adil Raman. The forgotten victim. The first person to disappear. The first person history forgot. The real beginning. Years before Samina. Years before Arif. Years before Naved. Adil entered room 23 alone. And found something waiting inside. The door beyond the room. Not a corridor. Not another timeline. A door. A single black door standing in empty darkness. The choice. According to the fragmented memory returning to Imran. Adil opened it. The consequence. That moment fractured reality. Not intentionally. Not maliciously. Simply because no one was supposed to open it. The first split. Every possibility that could have happened. Did happen. Every choice branched. Every outcome survived. The endless repetition. Room 23 became the point where those branches overlapped. The wound never healed. The fracture never closed. The purpose of the witnesses. Suddenly Arif's obsession made sense. Naved's investigations made sense. Sadia's memories made sense. They were all trying to reach the same moment. The moment before Adil opened the door. The problem. Nobody could reach it. Because every attempt created another branch. Another version. Another failure. The final memory returns. Imran staggered backward. More memories surfaced. Thousands of them. Different versions of himself. Different timelines. Different lives. The watcher, the gray-haired figure in the photograph, wasn't another person. It was him. The truth. For longer than anyone could measure. One version of Imran had been moving through timelines. Trying to find a way to stop Adil. Trying to repair the fracture. Trying to end the cycle. The reason nobody remembered. Because every failed attempt erased pieces of him. Memory by memory. Version by version. Until eventually he forgot who he was. The last door appears. As reality trembled around them. The black door materialized at the end of the corridor. The original door. The first door. The source. The choice. Everyone understood immediately. The fracture was unstable. The timelines were collapsing together. Soon there would be no separation left. No versions. No branches. Only chaos. Sadia's question. She looked at Imran. The words. How many times have you tried? The answer. The memory arrived before he spoke. Thousands. Perhaps millions. He had stopped counting long ago. The realization. Every previous attempt focused on stopping Adil. Stopping the door. stopping the fracture. Every attempt failed. Because the problem wasn't Adil. The problem was fear. Fear of loss. Everyone who entered room 23 wanted something. A lost sibling. A lost friend. A lost future. A lost version. They kept trying to undo loss. And in doing so, they kept feeding the fracture, the solution. For the first time, Imran understood. Nothing needed to be undone. Nothing needed to be erased. Nothing needed to be fixed. It needed to be accepted. The past happened. The lost remained lost. The dead remained dead. The failures remained failures. The door opens. Imran walked toward the black door. Alone. The others watched silently. The beginning. Beyond it stood Adil Raman. Young. Confused. Moments away from opening the door for the first time. The meeting. Adil looked at him. Not frightened. Simply curious. The question. Who are you? Imran smiles. After countless timelines. Countless failures. Countless versions. He finally answered honestly. The reply. Someone who spent too long trying to change what already happened. The choice. Adil glanced toward the door. Then back at Imran. The question. What should I do? The final answer. Imran looked at the young man. Then at the endless possibilities waiting beyond. The words. Live your life. Not every mystery needs to be opened. The door closes. For the first time. Adil stepped away. The black door remained shut. The fracture stopped growing. The collapse. Across countless timelines. The overlaps began fading. The impossible corridors vanished. The branches separated. The convergence ended. The farewell. Back inside room 23. Sadia smiled. Naved nodded. Arif finally lowered his head. As though a burden carried for decades had finally lifted. One last goodbye. The different versions slowly faded. Returning to their own lives. Their own histories. Their own realities. 1 year later. Mercy General Hospital no longer existed. Not even beneath the warehouse. No secret corridor. No room 23. Nothing. The official case. Sadia Ahmed's murder remained unsolved. Naved Hassan remained missing. Arif Rahman remained a cold case. History remembered only fragments. Detective Imran. Sometimes he felt as though he had forgotten something important. A dream. A memory. A life. Something just beyond reach. The photograph. One evening he discovered an old photograph inside a book. No name. No date. Just a group of smiling people standing together. Among them were faces that felt strangely familiar. Sadia. Naved. Arif. Samina. Adil. And someone who looked a little like himself. Written in fading ink. Some mysteries are solved. Others simply end. Detective Imran never learned why room 23 existed. But for the first time in countless timelines, he stopped trying to go back, and finally allowed the story to move forward.